You can say I am tired and feel the whole day obey. You can say I am behind and watch the body lean forward as if life is already leaving without you. You can say I am unwanted and suddenly a silent phone becomes evidence. You can say I am safe and notice the breath return before the situation has changed. Two words can open a room or close one. They can make the same face look friendly or threatening. They can make the same delay feel like rejection or rearrangement. That is why the small sentence before every thought matters. It is not decoration. It is a door. Most people try to change the room while standing in the doorway of the old self. They want a new answer while repeating the identity that made the old answer feel inevitable. They want peace while privately saying I am powerless. They want love while privately saying I am too much. They want provision while privately saying I am always on the edge. The world hears the state before it hears the request. The body hears it too. The mind looks for proof of it. The day begins organizing around it. So the question is not only what is desired. The question is who is speaking before desire even forms. If the words I am are the doorway, then the listener must decide which state is being entered every time those words are used. This episode explores Neville Goddard's I Am idea through modern host-led commentary and practical application. The focus is a living problem. The listener may be using identity language all day without noticing it. In law of assumption terms, I am can be understood as identity selection. It is the inner placement before thought, emotion, interpretation, and action. A person does not merely say words. They step into a state, and from that state, they interpret the world. That interpretation becomes the atmosphere of the day. A useful way to begin is to notice that I am is rarely neutral. It is often followed by a quiet verdict. I am late. I am unlucky. I am invisible. I am the one who has to try harder. I am the one who gets left. These may not sound like spiritual declarations because they are ordinary and private. That is exactly why they are powerful. They pass without ceremony. They feel like facts. The listener does not light a candle before saying them. They simply repeat them while making coffee, opening messages, walking into a room, or lying awake at night. The old state does not need drama when it has repetition. Neville's broader teaching treats imagination and consciousness as creative starting points. In a careful modern interpretation, the phrase I am can be treated as the place where the listener assigns themselves a state. Not a costume, not a fantasy, a state. The state is the inward sense of being someone chosen, someone rejected, someone provided for, someone abandoned, someone calm, someone always bracing. The state is the invisible home from which thoughts leave and to which interpretations return. This matters because many people try to change behavior without changing the state that gives behavior its tone. The insecure state can send a message that sounds needy even if the words are polished. The secure state can send a short message that feels clean because it is not begging. The unwanted state can walk into a room and search for proof of exclusion. The chosen state can walk into the same room and remain available to connection. The outer action may look similar, but the inner state changes the meaning of the action. Here is the first teaching distinction. I am is not a magic phrase for forcing life to obey a slogan. It is a doorway into self-concept. If the listener says I am wealthy while feeling terrified of every ordinary bill, the practice is not to shout louder. The practice is to discover the state that wealth represents: security, order, sufficiency, being supported, being capable of wise choices. If the listener says I am loved while living from constant suspicion, the practice is not to pretend suspicion is gone. The practice is to enter the state of being lovable and secure enough not to interrogate every silence. Imagine Celia, who wakes each morning with the same sentence already waiting. Before her feet touch the floor, the mind says, I am behind. Nothing has happened yet. No email has arrived. No conversation has begun. No problem has been solved or created. but the state is already chosen. From behind, she checks the phone. From behind, she reads a normal message as pressure. From behind, she drinks coffee as if time is accusing her. From behind, she plans the day as a defense against failure. By noon, the sentence feels proven, but the proof was gathered by the state that began the morning. Now imagine Celia practicing differently. She wakes and catches the old doorway before walking through it. She does not argue with the whole day. She does not force herself into excitement. She simply refuses to complete the old sentence. Instead of "I am behind," she says, "I am entering this day from order." Then she gives that state a body. She sits up slowly. She places both feet on the floor. She chooses the first clean action. She answers one message, not every fear. The day may still contain tasks, but it no longer begins as a trial against her worth. This is the practical promise of I Am work. It helps the listener intercept identity before identity becomes interpretation. The old self says, "I am rejected," and then every silence looks like evidence. The old self says, "I am unsafe," and then every number looks like danger. The old self says, "I am powerless," and then every delay looks like a wall. The selected state says, "I am grounded," and the same silence becomes space. "I am supported," and the same number becomes information. "I am capable," and the same delay becomes a place for clear action. Pause here and notice the structure. The episode has not asked the listener to deny facts. It has asked the listener to observe the state that interprets facts. A message can be unanswered. A bill can exist. A meeting can be difficult. A memory can still carry charge. The practice is not to erase the appearance. The practice is to stop letting the appearance finish the sentence after "I am." In a moment, the teaching becomes more precise because the listener needs a way to tell the difference between a chosen state and a sentence painted over fear. A chosen state has a different quality from a forced affirmation. A forced affirmation feels like shouting across a canyon. It often argues with terror. It says "I am safe" while secretly begging the body to stop feeling unsafe. A chosen state is quieter. It may begin as a small turn of attention. It says, "Even with this sensation present, I can enter the state of steadiness." It does not require instant emotional perfection. It requires direction. The listener turns from the identity of panic toward the identity of inner authority. There are 3 tests for a useful "I am" sentence. First, it should name a state rather than a fantasy scene. "I am chosen" is a state. "I am receiving one exact message by noon" is a controlled demand. Second, it should produce a possible posture in the body. "I am secure" can soften the shoulders. "I am respected" can lift the head. "I am guided" can slow the breath. Third, it should invite wise action, not avoidance. "I am provided for" may lead to calm budgeting, honest planning, or asking for help without shame. If the sentence makes the listener passive, frantic, or superior, it needs refinement. Consider the sentence "I am the operant power." Handled carelessly, that idea can become pressure, ego, or blame. Handled as commentary and practice, it points to responsibility for inner state. The listener is not being asked to control every person or event. The listener is being asked not to abandon the state to every person or event. That is a more grounded use of the idea. It restores authorship without making impossible promises. A modern example can make this clear. Marcus has an interview in 3 days. His old sentence is, "I am not the kind of person they choose." From that state, he prepares with dread. He reads the job description as a list of accusations. He remembers past disappointments as prophecy. He imagines the interviewer looking through him. Even his practice answers sound apologetic because the state beneath them is already asking permission to exist. Marcus changes the doorway. He does not say, "I am guaranteed this job." That would make the practice brittle and dependent on one outcome. Instead, he chooses, "I am a clear, valuable presence." That sentence names a state. It gives the body a posture. It invites wise action. From that state, he prepares examples. From that state, he practices speaking without shrinking. From that state, he sleeps earlier instead of scrolling through fear. From that state, the interview becomes a place to express value, not a courtroom deciding whether he is real. Notice how this avoids overclaiming. No one can honestly promise Marcus a specific result. Other candidates, timing, budgets, and practical systems exist, but the chosen state changes how Marcus prepares, speaks, listens, and recovers. It may change the quality of the opportunity he can recognize. It may change whether he abandons himself before the room has even met him. That is not small. A life is often altered by the state from which ordinary actions are taken. The same principle applies in relationships. A listener who lives from "I am unwanted" may turn small pauses into verdicts. They may read neutral language as withdrawal. They may ask questions that are really accusations in disguise. They may over-explain, overgive, or vanish before anyone can leave. If the selected state becomes "I am loved and secure in myself," the behavior changes. The listener can communicate without begging. They can listen without collecting injury. They can set boundaries without trying to punish. They can remain warm without becoming available to confusion. This does not mean using "I am" to excuse poor treatment. The secure state can leave. The loved state can say no. The respected state can end a conversation. Inner work should clarify reality, not blur it. The state of being loved is not proven by tolerating what harms the soul. It is often proven by choosing from dignity. This is why "I am" practice must be paired with grounded caveats. It is spiritual identity work, not a replacement for safety, support, medical care, legal counsel, financial planning, or honest communication when those are needed. Another example, Lena wants to feel financially safe. Her old "I am" is subtle. It is not "I am poor" spoken dramatically. It is "I am always one step from trouble." From that state, every purchase becomes guilt. Every invoice becomes threat. Every plan becomes a trap. She tries affirming abundance, but the body does not believe the performance, so she simplifies. Her new state is "I am learning stable provision." This is humbler, but stronger. It allows her to organize, ask questions, make plans, receive help, and stop turning every number into a prophecy. The best "I am" sentence often has a bridge between the old state and the desired state. If "I am perfectly confident" feels fake, try "I am allowed to stand here" with growing confidence. If "I am wealthy" feels too distant, try "I am practicing the state of sufficiency and order. If "I am loved" feels unreachable, try "I am willing to stop arguing for my unworthiness." These are not weaker, they are usable. A usable doorway is better than a golden door the listener refuses to enter. Now move into practical application. Take a sheet of paper or simply use the mind. Write the old sentence that seems to run the day. "I am behind, I am unwanted, I am unsafe, I am too late, I am invisible, I am not ready." Then ask what state that sentence keeps alive. Do not judge it, name it: scarcity, rejection, pressure, fear, smallness. Now choose the state that would naturally answer it. Order, chosen calm, safety, timeliness, presence, readiness. The new "I am" should point to that state. Next, make the state physical. If the sentence is "I am present," let the eyes stop searching the room for threat. If the sentence is "I am secure," let the breath move lower. If the sentence is "I am chosen calm," let the hands stop reaching for proof. If the sentence is "I am guided," let the next action become simple. The body is not separate from the state. It is one of the places where the state becomes believable. Then place the state into one ordinary scene, not a mansion, not dramatic applause, not a fantasy that makes the present feel worthless. Choose an ordinary scene from tomorrow. Opening the phone, walking into work, paying for groceries, answering a message, sitting alone at night. In imagination, do that ordinary thing as the person who has entered the new state. Feel the difference in posture, pace, and inner speech. That small rehearsal is often more transformative than an extravagant scene that never touches daily life. For a sat-style bedtime version, keep it even shorter. As the body becomes drowsy, choose one sentence. I am the one who is calm in the fulfilled state. I am the one who lives from inner authority. I am the one who is safely becoming. Then create a 5-second loop, perhaps a hand on the heart while breathing easily. Perhaps closing a laptop with relief. Perhaps hearing a trusted voice say, "You seem different, steady, settled." Repeat gently until the scene feels less like effort and more like atmosphere. If the mind interrupts, do not turn the interruption into failure. The old state may still speak. Let it speak without crowning it. If it says, "This will not work," answer with direction, not argument. "I am returning." If it says, "Nothing has changed," answer, "I am practicing the state before evidence." If it says, "You are pretending," answer, "I am choosing the identity from which I will live tonight." Then return to the scene. The return is the training. The listener should also audit casual speech. Many "I am" statements hide inside jokes and complaints. "I am terrible with money." "I am always the one who gets ignored." "I am bad at this." "I am cursed with timing." "I am just anxious." Some of these sentences may feel harmless because they are familiar, but familiarity is not innocence. Repeated identity language teaches the mind what to expect from itself. The audit is not about becoming stiff or afraid of words. It is about stopping loyalty to identities that are no longer welcome. A clean replacement does not need to sound grand. "I am learning." "I am returning to order." "I am becoming easier to support." "I am practicing calm communication." "I am available to a better state." "I am no longer rehearsing that old identity." These sentences leave room for growth while pointing inwardly toward the desired state. They do not guarantee an outcome. They change the starting place from which outcomes are met. There is a subtle paradox here. The listener enters the desired state not by denying the old state, but by no longer making the old state central. If fear is present, fear is present. If the body is tense, the body is tense. If doubt appears, doubt appears. None of that has to complete the sentence. "I am" can remain a doorway. I am aware of fear, but I am not fear's identity. I am noticing doubt, but I am not doubt's servant. I am meeting uncertainty, but I am not uncertainty's child. This is where the teaching becomes practical for repeated patterns. Suppose the listener often feels overlooked. The old state scans for exclusion and finds it everywhere. The "I am" practice is not merely saying "I am seen." It is acting from seen. How does a seen person enter the room? How do they speak? How do they listen? What do they stop doing? Perhaps they stop shrinking their sentences. Perhaps they stop laughing at their own needs. Perhaps they stop chasing people who only respond to absence. The state begins to educate behavior. Suppose the listener often feels unsupported. The old state says, "Everything rests on me." The revised "I am" might be, "I am supported and capable of receiving support." From there, the listener may make a call, accept help, organize a task, or stop rejecting kindness because it does not arrive in the exact form imagined. The state opens perception. It may reveal support that the old identity dismissed. It may also reveal places where the listener can support themselves with less drama. Suppose the listener often feels spiritually impatient. The old state says, "I must have proof now or I am failing." The revised "I am" might be, "I am faithful to the state before proof arrives." From there, waiting changes texture. It is no longer an empty hallway. It becomes a place where identity is practiced. The listener still takes action. They still discern. They still adjust. But they do not make every hour without evidence into a collapse of self. Before closing, use a 5-step "I am" audit. First, catch the old sentence. Second, name the state it creates. Third, choose the state that answers it. Fourth, give the new state a physical posture. Fifth, rehearse one ordinary scene from that state. This audit can be done in 3 minutes. It can be done before sleep, before a meeting, before sending a message, or before opening a bill. Its power is in repetition at the exact doorway where the old identity usually enters. Here is the guided reflection. Let one old I am sentence rise without shame. Hear it clearly. Notice how the body changes when it is believed. Notice the room it opens. Now step back from it. That sentence is a doorway, not a command. Choose another doorway. I am steady. I am chosen calm. I am learning provision. I am present. I am safe to be seen. Choose one. Let the body respond. Let the breath move as if the new state has somewhere to sit. Now imagine tomorrow morning for 5 seconds. See yourself doing one ordinary thing from that state. Keep it simple. Keep it natural. Let the scene close before effort returns. To deepen the exercise, pair the sentence with a small refusal. Refuse one old performance. Refuse to check the phone from panic. Refuse to apologize for existing. Refuse to turn one bill into a prophecy. Refuse to make one person's mood into your identity. The refusal should be quiet, not dramatic. It is not a war against the world. It is the end of cooperation with the old state. The listener is not fighting appearances. The listener is withdrawing permission from the identity those appearances used to activate. Then pair the sentence with one ordinary act of agreement. If the state is I am orderly, clear one surface before bed. If the state is I am supported, send one honest request without shame. If the state is I am chosen calm, put the phone down after one clean response. If the state is I am visible, speak one sentence without shrinking it. The action is not payment for the state. It is agreement with the state. It teaches the body that the sentence has a life. Some listeners will notice grief when they change an I am sentence. That is natural. The old identity may have been painful, but it was familiar. It explained disappointments. It gave the mind a map. Leaving it can feel like stepping out of a dark room before the eyes have adjusted. Be gentle in that moment. The new state does not have to feel complete on the first day. It only has to be chosen honestly enough to practice. Familiarity will come through return. The listener does not need to fix a whole life tonight. One doorway is enough. One repeated sentence is enough to study. One ordinary scene is enough to rehearse. The old state was built by repetition, and the new state is welcomed the same way. Not by panic, not by performance, by returning. Each return says the same thing inwardly. This is the self I am practicing now. No guaranteed manifestation, wealth, health, relationship, legal or life outcome can honestly be promised from an inner exercise. What can be practiced is the state from which the listener thinks, feels, interprets, communicates, chooses and rests. That practice can change perception. It can change behavior. It can calm the body. It can make wiser action available. It can help the listener stop living as the old verdict before the day has even begun. Another way to test the chosen state is to look at the questions it asks. The state of lack asks, why is this missing? The state of rejection asks, why do they not choose me? The state of fear asks, what if this gets worse? These questions do not simply request information, they aim attention. A new I am sentence should create a new question. From I am guided, the question becomes, what is the next clean step? From I am secure, it becomes, what can be handled calmly today? From I am chosen calm, it becomes, how would I move if I no longer needed to chase proof? This question practice is useful because many people repeat a new sentence while continuing to ask old questions. They say I am provided for, then spend the next hour asking why provision is absent. They say I am loved, then search for every sign of distance. The state has not become the operating place yet. It is still a line placed over an old courtroom. Let the new I am change the inquiry. A changed question is often the first sign that the doorway has actually been crossed. The listener can also use contrast without becoming trapped in it. Contrast means briefly noticing the old state so the new state can be chosen deliberately. It is not a place to live. If the old sentence is I am always forgotten, the contrast reveals a hunger to be remembered, valued, and included. The new state may be I am held in mind by the right people and I hold myself with care. The point is not to argue with every memory of being forgotten. The point is to stop using those memories as the doorway into today. There is a difference between identity and mood. A mood may rise and fall with weather, sleep, food, messages, and pressure. Identity is the deeper place the listener returns to even while moods move. I am practice should not demand that every mood become pleasant. It asks that no mood be allowed to define the whole self. The listener may feel sad and still be loved. They may feel nervous and still be capable. They may feel uncertain and still be guided. This distinction keeps the practice humane. For people who resist spiritual language, the same practice can be understood psychologically. The self-label shapes perception, posture, attention, and choice. When the label changes, the field of possible action changes, but Neville's framework adds mystical weight to that ordinary observation. It treats imagination not as decoration, but as the inner workshop where identity is accepted before evidence agrees. The modern listener does not have to force belief. They can begin by noticing the label and choosing a better state with sincerity. Use the doorway practice before conversations. Before replying to a difficult message, pause and ask which I am is about to answer. I am accused will answer defensively. I am desperate will answer too quickly. I am respected will answer clearly. I am safe to be honest will answer with less performance. The words sent may be simple, but the state beneath them changes the tone. Sometimes the most powerful communication shift happens before the first sentence is typed. Use the doorway practice with money. Before opening an account, a bill, or a price, ask which I am is looking. I am doomed will read numbers as prophecy. I am irresponsible will turn information into shame. I am learning order will read the same number as instruction. I am supported in wise action will look for the next honest step. This is not financial advice, and it is not a promise of outcome. It is an inner discipline that helps practical decisions emerge from steadiness rather than collapse. Use the doorway practice with sleep. The final identity of the evening often becomes the first atmosphere of the morning. If the listener falls asleep as I am failing, the night may become a rehearsal of pressure. If the listener falls asleep as I am safely becoming, the body receives a different instruction. Before sleep, do not review the day as a list of accusations. Review it as evidence of states. Where did the old state speak? Where did the new state appear? Then choose the doorway for rest. A small revision can support this. Choose one moment from the day when an old I am sentence took over. Do not replay the whole event. Find the instant of identity. The shoulders dropped, the face tightened, the thought said, there it is again. Now revise that instant. See the same event, but let the listener remain in the chosen state. The shoulders stay open. The breath remains available. The inner sentence changes. The outer event may be the same. The inner doorway is different. This is how I am connects with revision without becoming a source reading or lecture imitation. Revision changes the identity attached to a remembered moment. I am selects the identity that will meet the next moment. Together they create continuity. The listener stops saying, I am the person this always happens to, and starts practicing, I am the person who can meet this from a new state. That shift may sound quiet, but quiet shifts repeated faithfully become a new inner climate. The listener should not use I am as a weapon against themselves. If an old sentence appears, the response is not shame. Shame only creates another unwanted identity. I am failing at the practice. Instead, notice and return. The moment of noticing is already a doorway. The old sentence came into awareness. That means it is no longer completely hidden. Awareness gives choice a place to stand. The practice is not perfection, it is recovery. Some states will feel more natural than others because they have been rehearsed longer. If scarcity has been practiced for years, sufficiency may feel unfamiliar at first. If rejection has been practiced through many relationships, chosen calm may feel too quiet to trust. Do not mistake unfamiliarity for falsehood. A new state often feels strange before it feels natural. The listener is not trying to fake a life. They are giving the inner self a new normal to practice. A useful phrase is, make the state small enough to enter today. If I am completely transformed feels too large, choose I am willing to move from a steadier self for the next 10 minutes. If I am fearless feels impossible, choose I am safe enough to breathe and take the next step. If I am perfectly loved feels distant, choose I am not abandoning myself while love rearranges my life. These smaller doorways are not compromises, they are entrances. The practice becomes especially strong when paired with attention. Attention is the servant of the state. From I am unwanted, attention searches for absence. From I am secure, attention notices steadiness, warmth, and options. From I am behind, attention sees only pressure. From I am orderly, attention sees sequence. The listener does not need to force the whole world to change before attention can be trained. They can begin by asking what the chosen state would naturally notice next. There is one final self-audit question. What identity am I protecting by keeping this old sentence? Sometimes the old I am sentence is painful, but it protects the listener from risk. I am not ready protects against being seen. I am unlucky protects against trying again. I am too much protects against honest intimacy. I am alone protects against asking for support. Seeing this protection with compassion helps the listener release it. The old state was trying to keep life predictable. The new state teaches life to become possible. When the listener understands this, I am practice becomes less about repeating words and more about inhabiting a doorway. The sentence, the posture, the question, the action, the revision, and the bedtime scene begin to agree. That agreement is the work. It does not need to be loud. It does not need to impress anyone. It simply needs to be lived with enough consistency that the old doorway is no longer the easiest one to enter. The closing loop is simple. 2 words open the door. The listener has been using them all along. I am behind. I am unwanted. I am unsafe. Or I am present. I am chosen calm. I am learning stable provision. I am entering the desired state now. The words are not empty when they are joined to posture, attention, imagination, and action. Tonight, do not fight the whole world. Stand at the doorway, choose the state, enter it gently. Return to this lesson until you can test it in imagination and prove it in experience.